Good morning, YouTube. My name is Amisbro. How are we doing today? Today is September 29th, 2017. Today is, of course, the day that the Super NES Classic releases to stores nationwide, and the Mad Dash goes on. But it is also another interesting day, because on this day, 37 years ago, September 29th, 1980, a little game show called Bullseye, hosted by Jim Lange, premiered, and it ran for nearly 2 years, because its end date was September 24th, 1982. So it literally almost had a 2-year run. It was 5 days short. Bullseye is arguably my most talked about and one of my favorite game shows of all time. When I was a kid, when I was younger, I actually had a tape of game shows that I used to watch. And on it had, like, I believe, Jackpot, Chain Reaction, an episode of Bullseye. I think there was one other one, but I forget what it was offhand. Bullseye is the one that, of all of them, if you say to me, Josh, you can watch one game show the rest of your life, and that's it. Give me the entire run of Jim Lange's Bullseye on DVD, and I'm happy. And I'm serious about that. The entire run from September 29th, 1980 to September 24th, 1982. I don't care if it has celebrities, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's talk about the game now, the actual game show. So, what was Bullseye? Well, it was a game show that was created by Jack Barry and Dan Wright. You know, the same duo that created such game shows as The Joker's Wild, Tic-Tac-Toe, and about 5 others, which I'm drawing a blank on right now. Oh, one called Dotto, which some people may or may not know about, but that was actually implicated in the 1950 quiz show scandals. And they had about probably 5,000 others. Like I mentioned, I can't name them off the top of my head. But this show was a very interesting show because of its setup, and I'll get into that right now. The game was played with 2 contestants, much like every other Barry and Wright game show back in the day. Well, in this particular show, this is how it worked. You had 2 contestants, and you had a game board. The game board consisted of 3 windows. Now, the windows had different functions if it was the main game or the bonus round, which we'll talk about in a minute. In the main game, they had a function of the top left and the top right window had questions and dollar amounts. The bottom was a contract window. The bottom could range between, I believe, 3 to 5, or you could get the bullseye. If you got the bullseye, you can answer as many questions as you wanted, or as many as it took to get to the target amount to win the game. That changed over time. At first, it was $1,000, but later it was changed to $2,000. When they did the celebrity series, it was a 2 out of 3 game. When they did the civilians, it was 1 game to a finish. If the champion or the person designated as in the champion's position ran the table without their challenger getting a shot, they got to come back and play on a later episode. Usually, I believe it was the same one. Now, they could take the money and bank it. If they did that, they'd pass control over to their opponent. It is, and I have actually researched this, one of the few game shows that allowed the losing contestant to keep the money that they won during the main game. So even if you lost, as long as you banked money, you could end up walking away with at least, we'll say, $250, $500. It obviously couldn't be $1,000 because at the beginning of the show that was match. That was game, set, match, and that was how you won. It later became, of course, $2,000, and this also increased the value of the questions when they did the contracts. Now, the contestant who won the bonus round, or the main game, went on to play the bonus round. The bonus round was called Bonus Island, and had a couple of interesting rules. But let's talk about something important, because in the pilot that was filmed, they had a different rule set than what they ended up with in the actual show. What they do? This. The contestant who won the main game would go on to Bonus Island, which was literally a moving platform that the contestant and Lange would step on opposite sides of the platform. There was literally a step for each person to stand on, if you look at it. The contestant would hit a plunger to determine how many spins they could do. And if they got the bullseye, they could spin as many times as they wanted. One hitch. In the pilot version, there was only bullseyes and lightning. For every time you got a bullseye, they put money in the pot, and it just kept doubling until you got to a certain number of spins, and then you could potentially win $1 million. This wouldn't be the first time, by the way, there would be a Jim Lange game show where $1 million would be offered. In January, we're going to talk about a show called $1 Million Chance of a Lifetime. But back to Bullseye. The contestant who played the bonus round in the pilot didn't win the million, but they did get to continue. One fun fact about this show was that Scott Wyatt, who was one of the contestants on Bullseye, would later go on to be a judge for barrier and rate game shows. There's a fun fact for you. When the show actually happened, premiered, the bonus round had a different rule set. They still had the bullseyes, but they had dollar amounts and the lightning bolt. The lightning bolt in this show was the villain. It was the antagonist to the contestants. If you got the lightning bolt in any one of the three windows, sorry, game over, and you lost your money. Consider this like the devil of Joker's Wild or the dragon of Tic-Tac-Toe. That's just the way it worked. Now, here's what happens. Three windows spin. The contestant hits a plunger. Starting from the upper left window and working clockwise back to the bottom, the windows reveal what is behind it. Now there's money, bullseyes, and of course the lightning bolt. If at any point the lightning bolt shows up, regardless of what happens with any of the other windows, game over. If, however, you escape lightning for that spin, then the money, if money shows up on one of the windows, is added to the pot. And if it's a bullseye, well, that depends on the rules. In the old days, or when the show first started, the contestant was given the option, do you want to freeze the window? If you froze it, then irregardless whether there was lightning behind it, you're safe. Later on, they would make it so that any bullseyes were automatically frozen. Now, if you survived a certain number of spins, it started at 10 and went to 7 later, you won a set amount of money. If you got bullseyes at any time, they doubled whatever money was in the pot. But what happens if, say, I don't know, a contestant were to spin 3 bullseyes in one turn? Specifically the first one. This is where it gets fun, kids. They had a rule for this. Now, at first, and there's actually a clip on YouTube of this happening, A contestant successfully spun 3 bullseyes in one go in the first turn. Because they spun what is considered a natural, they won $5,000. That would later be bumped up to $10,000, by the way, if anybody did it later. Of course, like I said, if you get the lightning, game over. It stinks, but what are you going to do? These rules sound complicating, and I'm probably making it sound a lot more complicated than it really is. But it's actually one of the most exhilarating bonus rounds in game show history. That, and arguably the Face the Devil round from The Joker's Wild, hosted by Jack Barry and later Bill Cullen. By the way, that show was also guest hosted by Jim Peck. Joker's Wild, but again, we're going off here. Bullseye is by far one of my all-time favorite game shows, and the fact that today, if it was on the air, it would be 37 years old is amazing. But what saddens me is that not many people talk about the game show. You don't hear many people really speak, have a great fondness for it or anything. But why is that? What about Bullseye makes it such a forgotten show? The fact that it only lasted about 2 years? I got news for you. There's game shows that have lasted longer, say The Price is Right nowadays, that I lost my fondness for because of how long they've been on the air. Bullseye is one of the rare examples of a short-lived game show that I think we all need to take a step back and check out. If you go on YouTube and you research Bullseye US Game Show, you probably will find it. And I know you'll find a bunch of the closings. And let me just come out and say it right now. That closing theme song, whew, it is to die for. So how do I want to end this video? Well, let's end it the only way Mr. Lange would have done it. My name is Amisbro, and here's hoping that everything you are shooting for hits the bullseye. See ya.